Amazing. Thanks, guys. We might kick off with Sammy for this one. Sammy?
Kenny, bad luck tonight, mate, and obviously there's plenty of positives coming out of the season.
Absolutely, Sammy. Appreciate your support all season as well, and you've been following us religiously all season long. Just from my perspective, an amazing season to build an incredible foundation on. We've had a huge turnover of players. This group here has, as KG said post-game, has just had tremendous growth. I'm incredibly proud of all of them. Obviously, we would have loved to have for our season to continue, but I think tonight, Perth showed their experience and why they, certainly earned their spot in the finals. So we wish them the best. But yeah, look, I'm so proud of this group. Just immense growth in all areas this year.
And obviously, Izzy Bullwace was outstanding here, obviously MVP, and another good game, great game tonight. Yeah,
the scary thing is you're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. This young lady could do anything, and I think to have someone like that within our program has just given us a tremendous amount of challenges to continue to try and provide the resources needed for these young women to continue to grow and develop. And it's been a fun ride, a really fun ride working with Izzy. She's a tremendous talent.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And we'll just throw over to Seb from AAP.
Hey guys, just Seb. Kennedy, how do you kind of reflect on that game, and where do you kind of, and how are you going to kind of reflect on it, kind of going into the future?
Yeah, look, I think for me it's probably more reflection of the season now that game's done. I mean, of course I'll go back and watch it. It's probably no different to any other game. The process will be very similar for myself, and try and find are there things that potentially we can do differently or better next time. I mean, certainly Ryan's had a style of play that has been fairly consistent, for the time he's been the Lynx coach. But for me, really, it's probably time of reflection of the season now and an opportunity to be able to review myself and review the staff and sit down and offer our players an opportunity to give us some feedback on their season as well. Because, I mean, the reality is every season that I've been coaching the Spirit, I've wanted to make improvements and see how high I can push the ceiling on this program, and this season will be no different, irrespective of whether we're playing finals or not playing finals or winning a championship. We're finding ways to continue to improve and get better.
Today it kind of seemed that you guys flicked a switch after half-time. I'm just kind of wondering, what was kind of the message that you gave the girls at that main break?
Yeah, look, again, it was some very simple messaging around what we're going to do defensively, or what we need to continue to do well, what we're doing well offensively, and some of the change-ups we need to make as well. So putting focus in certain areas, but it wasn't. KG will know she's the inspirational speaker of the leadership team here. I'm very much the matter of fact guy. So it was just simple statements, simple focuses.
Kelsey, can you kind of just paint me a little bit of a picture of that last quarter and that second half, and what you kind of made of it?
Yeah, look, I think we probably were running offenses with a bit more purpose. I think at times, as young teams do, we kind of, but it's also this year has been, I've learned so much from this group that sometimes it almost feels like we roll the ball out and we just play off each other and it works, and then other times it doesn't. And I think what we did to start the second half was we played with a lot of purpose, and we put the ball in the best player in the league's hands and let her go to work and tried to support her with certain matchups and certain strategy, and Izzy did that. She's a phenomenal talent, but an amazing human. I think the league's in really good hands, and I think from my perspective, she's the person that you want to put up as the face of the league, not just because of her talent, but because of how she goes about it, how she builds people up around her, how considerate she is. She never once was out there chasing stats or trying to do it for the recognition. She just put our team on her shoulders to try to win games all season long. And we lost several people. We had a ton of adversity, and I think that she showed what she's capable of just at 21. So I'm really excited to see where her career is going to take. Now, I know you asked about what happened in the second, but anytime I get a chance to talk about Izzy and my teammates, I definitely will.
I'll give you another chance to talk about one of your teammates, Kelsey Rees.
Yep.
Obviously today she was prolific against Hanshu. How kind of do you think we're also just touching the tip of the iceberg there with her potential and the future with her?
Kelsey and Polly, or Liv, as I guess maybe the broader public know her. We know her as Paul. I think like Kels has this, she's incredibly conscientious, very intelligent person, really thinks the game. But what I've been really blown away from Kels is, when I first met her, it was at the COE, and she was basically a baby giraffe, right? Like she was, I think, 15 or 16 and still growing. But I'll never forget my first session with her. She knew every position on the floor and what the point guard was meant to do, what the post was going to do. And it wasn't the point guards at the COE that was teaching me the offenses I was going to run with them. It was her. And so to get to see her go to college, handle the adversity she had to over there, be intentional about where she chose to come and play. Bendigo hasn't necessarily had the historic reputation of a destination club, but her and Polly chose here because they believe what they could get out of their career by starting it here. And I think, Kelsey's someone who saw that and then put in an immense amount of work. Whether, I don't think there was you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kenny. I don't think there was a practice that went by that Kelsey didn't stop or stay after and work on her shot and work on this and work with Braden, ask for a rebounder every single practice. And, Polly's someone who had to step up for us massively when Tolo went out. And, I think she was probably put in a position where she needed to kind of be a jack of all trades more so than playing her natural position from the start of the season. We tried to play her in the 3 because that's what it looked like it needed to be from where we were. And then when all the outs happened with Casey and Tolo, she just stepped up and is just the ultimate teammate. It's just, I feel so fortunate to just play with such great people. And, Kels and Paul, I could go down the list, every single one of my teammates, but especially those young ones.
And just kind of final question for you, Kelsey. Obviously brought up a significant milestone this year with 250 games, made another final series, also last year won the WNBL Grand Final. Have you kind of thought about your next steps after this season and what kind of wants to happen to you?
Daily, I think about my next steps daily. Yeah, I think Aaron and I will take some time and figure out, what we want to do. I will say I've probably retired in my head 4 times. Really actually retired after the hub season. That was really rough on me. I went and got a full-time teaching job and stepped into how the other half lived and got a rude awakening, I would say, and realized, bad day at basketball is sometimes better than a good day working 9 to 5. And so, Aaron and I have to probably have a chat about what our next steps are going to be. But I think because of the people that I get to go and play basketball with daily, it's going to be a really difficult decision. So I don't know if this was my last game playing. If it was, I feel really, really fortunate. And, I'm someone that probably struggled with gratitude in my career because I felt like I often had to push for progression and betterment because that was my job. People did it before me, and I didn't really know how to balance the two. But if I have a word for this season, it's just immense gratitude, just from the recognition I've gotten from the league, from other, players on other teams, but mostly from my teammates. It's just been one to remember for me, for sure.
Awesome, thank you. That's all I have. Anyone else on the Zoom?
We'll just start at Craig.
Yeah, you answered pretty much everything. So just the one for me, Kennedy. You're the reference point now for Perth beforehand and Perth afterhand because you made a mess of them in the last game before she arrived, and they've made a mess of nearly everyone since. Like, how different are they, and how difficult are they now with her in the team?
Han changes the outlook of that team immensely. Goodness, she gets the ball anywhere within 3 feet from the basket. It's pretty much an automatic basket, and obviously the shot changing ability and rebounding both ends of the floor. So I think we've spoken about this as a group before, just the guards having the ability now to be able to climb in and be more aggressive, take risks, knowing that you've got 6'11" and 8 foot plus protecting the rim on the other end. It just changes absolutely everything for them. And she's a wonderful ambassador of basketball. She's a wonderful human being. She's got great personality. And so I love what she brings to the Lynx. I love what she's brought to the league. And, I think we all would all love to have a Hanzu. But, for now, she's really the difference maker. But I also think there's probably one more person in that team that doesn't get enough praise, and it's a bit like our Abby, who's an unsung hero, is Chibba Tony. You know, Alex Chibba-Tony she's had a immense growth, came back, had a baby, started a family, and just what she does for this team as well, her ability to play defense, change shots, rebound. I mean, any shot she shoots mid-range is almost automatic, and if she doesn't make that, she gets every offensive rebound. She put us in some really difficult situations. I thought her in the Hahn pick and roll was the difference in the game, because certainly when they needed to get momentum, it was those two who typically were making the shots.
I think too, early in the season when they were still finding their way, Shiba made so many clutch plays for them, which gave them their ladder position that they have now, which gave them home court, you know, in second. So I think her season that she's had the entire season, whether they were flowing or not, her consistency, her leadership, being clutch, when, you know, they don't run things through her, but she just has great feel for the game and steps up, and yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Like, Chibba's been around forever. She's been at this club through the hard times. As in the hard times of when you lose grand finals or don't get there. Like, you would have seen her so often. Have you? Do you hope that for her sake she gets one, because you've won so many? You know what the feeling's like.
Yeah, I mean, Chibba, I mean, I told her, I think before our game one, I was like, hey, I just want to let you know that I voted for you in first team. That's how much respect I have for her. And I think, yeah, absolutely, you know, like, I want nothing for the best for her, but I also hope she knows that regardless of whether she stacks up a bunch of championships or not, her impact on the game is beyond that. And I think, like, you know, if I had a young guard or a daughter, I would say that's somebody I want you to emulate after, because of her level-headedness, she just makes winning plays, but she doesn't do it for acknowledgement. Like, and I think that's just, that can be quite rare these days. And so I think, yeah, I wish nothing but the best for her, for sure. And I think she is a huge reason why they're so successful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Pass over to Paul.
Yep, Kennedy. It was a real tussle this whole game, and really got away from you guys just towards the end. What was it that, from your perspective, there where it just got away from you?
Yeah, look, there are probably a lot of things within that game that, I mean, you know, haven't had the chance to watch it, so I mean, I'm going to give you my observations from in the game that aren't always necessarily accurate, right? But for us, again, I think that the Chibba and Hahn pick and roll was a real challenge for us at different times of the game. I think, again, from our perspective, we had and generated some pretty good looks for us. And again, this is not a time where we go, well, you know, missed shots happen. It's basketball sport. It's imperfect, right? So, you know, it happens. You know, we typically, you know, analysing our success on process and did we generate the right shot? The answer is yes. We understand there's makes and misses, but really probably some of those areas immediately come to mind. You know,
I think they just made shots and we missed shots.
Yeah,
I think it's actually that simple. Naily made that big three. That was a huge momentum for him. We had some looks, we just didn't make it. Yeah.
Kelsey, you mentioned Izzy Boulais earlier. When you look at her development across the whole season,
Yeah.
from your perspective, you know, what are you seeing?
I don't know if broadcast got what I said after the game, so I'll repeat it. So I'm sorry if everyone already heard it, but I think like all you need, like my thing for Izzy in a nutshell is everyone knew Izzy was talented when she came out of the COE. Like she came out and like she put everyone on notice. I was like, I didn't know that they made grown women in the COE. Like she came out and like she was bullying people, and I was like, I didn't know that happened. For me, like, I'll tell you a story about Iz, and I think this encompasses why, or in my opinion, why she's doing what she's doing right now. So we were playing in, I don't know, somewhere in regional Victoria, because we had 10,000 preseason games all across Victoria, and I was imploring Iz to like get outside herself because she was really quiet, and I was saying like, hey, talk to your teammates, like pump up your teammates, acknowledge it, something like that, and she's like, well, what do I say? And I'm like, say whatever, like you can see the game, like say whatever you think. And like I had to encourage her to think about her teammates, and it wasn't so much, or sorry, not think about them, but to actually vocalize it. And then today, so then fast forward to now, before the season, or before the game, she comes up to me and she says, you know, you always give me a pep talk, but I'm going to give you a pep talk today. She was like, they can't guard you. You need to go to work, you know, and said all these things. And so for me, for Izzy to go from being someone who was so inside herself to then being someone who's coming up to a 38-year-old who's played 250 games, who talks all this talk, that she came up and said that, I think that's, you know, for me, the thing I'm most proud of is the way Izzy was able to speak at the awards night when she got her MVP, the fact that she's able to feel confident about showing her true self when we asked her to do social media stuff, the fact that she comes up to everyone and, you know, checks in on them now and jokes around and is smiling on the court. Like, for me, that's, I think, why Izzy is having the season that she's having, because she's always been talented and she's going to get even more talented. I think that's the tip of the iceberg Kennedy's talking about. But for me, it's the joy in which she's playing with and really connecting with her teammates that I think is just so incredibly special and something I'm really, really proud of.
When we had Izzy on the podcast, she mentioned that she really looks up to you as a mentor, and also there was a lot of advice that you gave her across the season that really helped her to develop the game. So, from your perspective, how do you see or do you see the advice that you've given her actually on court?
Yeah, she's a sponge, like, to her credit. And I'm like, it's kind of funny because, like, Izzy can do things that I could only dream of doing, right? Like, I'm like, I don't know what you call that. I don't know how you see that. But if you do that, when they do this, you will be wide open kind of thing. And so I think there's this element of not trying to overload her because her instincts are incredible, but, like, she wants to be great. She has high aspirations. She takes such pride in representing this country. She wants to go off and, you know, make a name for herself in the WNBA. And so I think for me, I didn't have the best transition into being a pro, and so it was really, I've just really loved being able to play a small part in what she's going to have for an amazing career.
Great. That's it for me, thanks.
Anyone else on Zoom?
Yeah, go for it.
Alright, some quick ones. Kels, for you, I mean, we're standing in a new purple room, new purple stadium, league, everything. I mean, it's been a real elevation on every side of the floor. From your perspective, reflecting on it in the half an hour that you have had for the season, what has been the biggest reflection you've had on how much women's basketball's been elevated in the past 12 months?
Yeah, look, I think I've tried to have more reflective practice, to be honest. So I've thought a lot about this season and why I want to play. I think knowing why you're playing is really important. I call it, you know, my carrot, my why, has been really important. And part of this season was about 250th, but part of it was also the excitement around the new ownership and what could be, because, you know, I was a delegate for 8 years in the Players Association, advocating for progression, looking at what people need, trying to elevate people's voices who maybe didn't feel like they were heard. And so I felt like I owed it to myself for all of the years of trying to fight for better, to see what it could be. And I knew, I'm old enough to know that it's going to come with teething issues. That's always going to happen with transition and change. But I think what's so exciting about it is, and similar to why I came to Bendigo and SEN bought, was that the runway now is huge, and where women's basketball is globally is super exciting. And so I think, and having Han here, I think has been incredible. Like, I think that if I was in charge of the league, I would be looking at how can we make a better bridge into Asia and look at expanding that market. And clearly, like, they're one of the closest countries next to us. China's a powerhouse, and I think that's an incredible opportunity for what we can do to grow a basketball mad country. We're a basketball mad country, and there's an incredible partnership there. So I think for me, getting to be at the start is really exciting. I will not see probably the fruit of my, or experience the fruit of my labor, but I'm very excited to see where it grows. And I think it's very exciting. And the ownership group, believes in it. They're prepared to resource it appropriately. I think often in basketball that's been a fight, that there's just been really passionate people, but the financing hasn't been there. And so I think, like anything, we'll learn from some of the setbacks that have happened this year, and it's just going to grow from strength to strength. And yeah, I'll be excited to watch from the sidelines one day and say that I was, a small part in being able to help create that.
And Kennedy, I mean, you could name every single player on the roster. I mean, Booth has come out of nowhere almost, but I think for me, it's the two bigs that have sort of been the biggest development, especially given the circumstances, and to throw two rookies into, what was the number 1 seed and then now semi-finals. Were you expecting more? Like, how did you evaluate their success given the circumstances and against the biggest player on earth?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think everyone's had growth this season, including myself and including the staff. It's been a real season of learning and a real season of opportunity to try and push boundaries in a number of areas. So Polly and KR, no surprises. We did a lot of homework, and I've known Polly for a very long time now as a 14-year-old playing state league level basketball here in Victoria. KR, we put it, and now watch the video, we look at analytics, we do all that. We go through a fairly thorough recruitment process, and I mean, to be honest, the funny thing with KR is I actually felt like I was getting interviewed. She asked me many questions. I was like, whoa, this is great. Like, this kid is really thoughtful, and if I don't know what I'm talking about, she's going to see, like, there was, so I was on notice instantly with her, which was great. Polly was a little easier because we'd already had a rapport and a relationship, but I mean, look, as far as, have they exceeded expectations for me? Probably not. As far as I certainly had a belief that they were capable, which is the reason why Jacko and myself, went so incredibly hard for them in the recruitment process. I'm just so thankful that they chose us and gave us the opportunity. Obviously, a huge part of that was the leadership that we have and the experience within the playing group. And don't think for a second that that's we haven't been using that as a selling tool there, KG. So it's certainly helped us. But yeah, those.
They exceeded my expectations.
Definitely.
When Tolo went down, or not down, when Tolo got pregnant, as her friend, I was really excited. As her teammate, I was like, oh no, we've lost a 3-time Olympian, the best big defender. She was playing phenomenal basketball, which I think Kelly was also pregnant. I don't know if there's like superpowers when you're pregnant, but like Tolo, and so I was like, oh no. And so then we went, we thought, we're gonna need to get an import. Like, what are we gonna do? Jacko had contingency plans, but then Iz and I I was talking to Iz, and Iz is like, I think we're good. And then we just poured into them, and they just took off. And I think, I'm so proud of the club for backing them. That's why they came here, was to have the opportunity. And so for me personally, it wasn't more that I had a ceiling on what they were capable of from a low ceiling. It was just that I couldn't, I was blown away by what they were able to do in Tolo's absence and all the adversity around it, whether we were going to get someone to replace him, all that kind of stuff. You just don't make 23-year-olds like that. That's, yeah.
To KG's point, we made that, not necessarily a promise, but we certainly mapped out what we thought their season could look like for them, and we knew Tolo's situation. We knew there was a lot of transparency around that she was trying to have a family, and so we intentionally had to go after some Australian kids. So we're really transparent. So for us to actually back that in and execute that play, I think is so important for us, because I mean, you want to be people of your word, and that's so important. But yeah, they've rewarded us tenfold.
Last call on Zoom, and that's it.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you,
Appreciate the
guys.
season. Appreciate it.